Sounds.
Young Boss, Miss Trina.
Hi, and welcome to Love Bet. I'm Beverly.
And I'm Tabitha.
And this episode is all about ancient Africa.
And everything that goes with it.
Let's get started with the basics of modern day Africa.
The Mediterranean Sea separates Africa from Europe.
Africa is the second largest continent.
It has almost 12% of the world's population.
Africa's population is growing rapidly.
However, most of the soil is poor for farming, and there's little fresh water.
About a quarter of the land is desert.
These deserts are spreading.
Africa is the birthplace of the human race.
Anthropologists think that the first humans lived in East Africa.
They lived as hunter-gatherers 9,000 years ago, and they grew sorghum, cotton, and yams.
Pastoralists are those who practice herding and raising animals.
The farmers grew sorghum, cotton, and yams.
First farmers were most likely pastoralists of the Sahara, which means the climate was much wetter than it is today.
5,000 years ago, the climate changed, and the Sahara became drier. More land became desert, and people left uninhabitable areas.
Pastoralists then migrated to the Mediterranean coast, the Nile River Valley, and parts of West Africa.
Developed villages based around clans or families with common ancestors.
Family ties were extremely important.
Loyalty to clans was expected.
Some areas lived in groups called age sets, which means men born within the same age set have a duty to help each other. It wasn't as common, but women sometimes formed age sets as well.
Family loyalty and age sets helped village members work together, and everyone had specific duties.
Men hunted and farmed.
Women cared for children, farmed, collected firewood, ground grain, and carried water. Dang, they did a lot.
And elders taught traditions to the younger generations.
In 5000 BCE, iron technology spread to parts of sub-Saharan Africa and changed many aspects of life.
Iron technology helped early African communities grow around 500 BCE. Technologies refining iron from iron ore, which made it possible to produce tools and weapons that were more superior.
One of the earliest societies for iron working was called Nok. Appeared in what is now Nigeria in West Africa. They produced weapons and tools which created better farmers, hunters, and warriors. Nok soon grew in power.
They became known for producing fine sculptures out of clay and iron tools, which made places that were uninhabitable habitable.
They could now cut down large trees for farmland. More land equals more food, which equals an increased population.
Let's go over to Eve and Ellie,
Which have information on the Gaana Empire.
Who Jumbo! I'm Ellie.
And I'm Eve.
And this is about the Gaana Empire. It was located on what is now southeastern Mauritania and western Mali.
Complex societies have existed in the region since about 1500 BCE, and around Ghana's core region since about 300 BCE.
It is uncertain when Ghana's ruling dynasty began. It's first mentioned in a documentary source around 830 BCE.
The introduction of the camel, which preceded Muslims and Islam by several centuries, brought about a gradual change in trade, and for the first time, extensive gold, ivory trade, and salt resources of the region could be sent north and east population centers in the North Africa, the Middle East, and Europe in exchange for manufactured goods.
The empire grew rich from the trans-Saharan trade in gold and salt.
This trade produced an increasing surplus, allowing for larger urban centers. It also encouraged territorial expansions to gain control over lucrative trade routes.
Most of our information about the economy of Ghana comes from merchants, and therefore we know more about the commercial aspects of its economy and less about the ways in which the rulers and nobles may have obtained agriculture products through the tribute or taxation.
Merchants had to pay more than 1 gold dinar tax on imports of salt and 2 exports of salt. Imports probably included products such as textiles, ornaments, and other materials. Many of the handcrafted leather goods found in old Morocco may have also had their origins in the empire.
The main center of trade was Koumbi-Sao.
The king claimed as his own all the nuggets of gold and allowed other people to only have gold dust.
In addition to the exert influence of the king onto local regions, tribute was also received from various tributary states and chiefdoms to the empire's boundaries.
These factors all helped the empire remain powerful for some time, providing a rich and stable economy that was to last over several centuries.
Much testimony on ancient Ghana depended on how well disposed the king was to foreign travelers, from which the majority of information on the empire comes from.
Islamic writers often commented on the social political stability of the empire based on seemingly just actions and grandeur of the king.
The Arabic sources, the only ones to give us any information, are sufficiently vague as to how the country was governed.
It is mentioned that the king had officials who surrounded his throne when he gave justice, and these included the sons of the kings and his country.
Detailed accounts on the geography of this region showed in 1067, Ghana was surrounded by independent kingdoms and Celia. One of them, located on the Senegal River, was almost a match for the Kingdom of Ghana.
Hi, I'm Leanna. Today, Tabitha and I are going to inform you on the Mali Empire. Wait, where's Tabitha?
Sorry guys, I was just running from an elephant stampede. The Mali Empire was the second of the three West African empires to emerge in the vast savanna grasslands, located between the Sahara Desert to the north and the coastal rainforest in the south.
The location of Mali gave the empire an advantage being located to Africa's gold mines and the fertile area of the Niger River floodplain.
Like Ghana, Mali's power came from its great supply of gold, iron, and salt. The Mali Empire was established when Sundiata Keita, the leader of the Soso tribe, conquered Ghana.
Around 1240, Sundiata established a permanent army and conquered much land, creating Mali.
In 1312, Sundiata's grandson, Mansa Musa, became the Sultan of Mali. Keita broke the empire into provinces. Each of these provinces was ruled by generals that he put in place. It was up to these generals to maintain peace as well as seeing to the physical needs, things like having enough food, of the other people under their jurisdiction.
Mansa Musa built Mali into a prestigious kingdom, well known by its extremely organized cities. Mali was so well known, European map makers started displaying Mali on their maps.
Mansa Musa was a follower of the Islamic religion. In 1324, he made a pilgrimage to Mecca because it was the spiritual homeland of Islam.
Speaking of Islam, during the reign of Mansa Musa, he ordered Islamic houses of worship called mosques to be built throughout Timbuktu. The mosques were large structures that included many elegant features such as solid gold domes, velvet rugs, fountains, and artwork carved into stone.
Sounds pretty fancy to me!
Mansa Musa's devotion to Islam didn't stop there. In the heart of Mali lay Timbuktu, which was known as the Center for Learning. One of the most favored topics included law and Islamic religion.
In fact, it was home to the University of Timbuktu, believed by many to be the world's oldest university. This house of learning was so famous, it drew students from all over Europe, Africa, and Asia.
Mansa Musa ruled for many years and was known as a very generous ruler. In fact, he gave away so much gold that its value began to drop. Now, let's move on to the East African civilizations, shall we?
Elephant! In East Africa, the migration of agriculture and ironworking spread.
And several groups in Africa spoke related languages. Ellie, did you know that languages originate from Proto-Bantu?
Yeah, Leanna. They developed in what is now Cameroon and Nigeria, and over time, hundreds of Bantu languages developed.
For unknown reasons, at the beginning of 1st century AD, Bantu people began migrating east and south. The Bantu people became a dominant group.
By 900s AD, Bantu had developed a complex social system where women farmed and men tended cattle. The cattle were the most important resource in most Bantu societies. They were used as food sources and for ritual sacrifice. The status of a Bantu society was often based on the size of one's cattle herd.
If you got a lot of cows, you got a lot of pals.
No, Leanna, just no. Anyways, let's have Eve and Tabitha take the floor and inform us about the Aksum.
Meerkat. The East African kingdom of Aksum grew into the 1st century of AD. It is located in what is now Ethiopia and Eritrea, south of Egypt and Kush alongside the Red Sea.
Aksum controlled Red Sea trade, and at its height, Aksum was the most powerful kingdom in East Africa.
The rise of Aksum began when people descended from local African farmers and people who migrated from Arabia.
180, Aksum developed into a wealthy trading kingdom. It had two main cities, Aksum the capital and Audalis, the thriving port on the Red Sea.
The kingdom extended from the Ethiopian highlands to the coastal plain of the Red Sea. Its location provided advantages, including it being well suited for agriculture,
The proximity to the Red Sea for trade,
and access to the Indian Ocean.
the traders from the African interior, India, Persia, Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean region traded with Aksum.
Africa's interior brought frankincense, gold dust, ivory, and enslaved Africans to the Aksum markets.
At trade markets, luxury goods were exchanged, and by AD 300, Aksum encountered great wealth from trade.
Aksum at its height became a wealthy trading kingdom with strong military power. It reached the height at King Ezana 320 BC.
His authority was mainly limited to the capital city, and outside of this city, the king collected tribute from local rulers of other parts of Aksum, but had little authority.
Under Ezana's rule, he attacked and defeated Kush, the main rival kingdom, in 350 BC, and gave Aksum control of the trade region. Aksum became the greatest power in East Africa.
Now let's move on to culture. Because of thriving overseas trade, there was a development of a diverse culture. Merchants brought new ideas and goods. One of these ideas was Christianity in about 300 AD.
King Ezana converted Christianity and made it the official religion of Aksum. The kings often inscribed stelae with records.
And many still stand and provide us with examples of geese.
Geese?
Geese. Geese was the written and spoken language of Aksum. It was one of the first written languages to develop in Africa. It is the basis of written languages used in Ethiopia. Although it is no longer spoken today, it is still used in Ethiopian religious ceremonies.
Wow, thanks Tabitha. You're the best.
I know. And now, this beautiful, intelligent, funny, and beautiful woman would like to move this, Leanna. Oh my God! Would like to move this on to a new segment on Ethiopia.
Guess who's back again.
Shady's back.
Tell a friend.
Thanks, Eminem. You the real MVP.
Ethiopia referred to a larger region around the kingdom of Aksum. By 1100s, descendants of Aksum established a new kingdom in Ethiopia.
It began to truly develop under rule of Zagwe dynasty 1150. In 1200, the most famous Zagwe king was King Lalibela.
He built 11 stone Christian churches. Many still stand, as they were carved out of solid rock. Lalibela churches showed up in the importance of Ethiopia of Christianity.
Many other people in East Africa were Muslim. Christianity provided unifying identity for Ethiopian people.
In 1270 AD, the second dynasty of Christian kings ruled in Ethiopia. The kings claimed to be descendants of the Hebrew king Solomon and Queen Sheba.
This long-lasting dynasty continued to rule Ethiopia for 700 years until 1974.
Wow, that dynasty ended only 41 years ago.
Right you are, Eve. Right you are. During first century of Solomon rule, the kings engaged in religious wars. Ethiopia was Christian. Jews called Beta Israel lived in Ethiopia as well.
In the 1400s, Ethiopia's Christian kings began to fight Beta Israel and tried to make them leave. Unfortunately for them, this was unsuccessful.
The rival Muslim kingdom was forming to the east region of Africa, just out into the Indian Ocean and south of Arabian Peninsula.
Muslim Arab merchants had settled in that region that became known as the Kingdom of Idel by the 1300s. Muslim Aldai and Christian Ethiopia went to conflict and fought for several years. The Muslim force never conquered Ethiopia. Ethiopia remained independent. Just kidding.
Hello? Yeah? Uh-huh. You're on your way? Okay, see you later.
Who was that?
Oh, just coastal city-states.
Timbuktu!
The coastal city-states were located south of Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa.
Muslim city-states developed along East African coast. They made their way from overseas trade.
They rose when the East Coast drew overseas traders from early times.
Early traders influenced by the Indian Ocean and monsoon winds. November through March, monsoons blew southwest, which was from coast of India towards Africa. Then in April through October, reverse and blow northeast, blowing towards India and Persian Gulf.
The sailors learned to take advantage of the wind patterns and move around the Indian Ocean. Trade networks soon developed and linked Africa with Persia, Arabia, India, and Southeast Asia.
Arab traders called East African coastal region the land of Zanj. In 1100 AD, coastal market towns had grown into wealthy and thriving city-states.
Okay, the main cities were Mogadishu, Mombasa, Kiwala, and Sofila.
The coastal cities linked merchants from overseas with traders from interior Africa.
There were many luxury goods imported into Africa, such as glassware, porcelain, silk, and cotton. And interior Africa sold coconut oil, copper, leopard skin, shells, and ivory for gold.
Wow! Back then, sailors really got around!
Yeah, they were really smart about trading with several countries to growth and wealth and get much needed supplies.
Slaves were also traded, and many more were traded once Europeans started going into Africa, then took many slaves to America.
That sucks. Their trade peaked during the 1300s and 1400s. Kilwa was the wealthiest and most powerful coastal city. It was on the southernmost point of East Africa's coast. Its powers increased further in the late 1200s when it gained control of Sofala, where there was much gold exported through Sofala.
Trade caused blending of African, Arab, and Asian cultural influence along East Africa's coast. Many Muslim Arabs and Persians settled in city-states.
Groups intermarried with local Africans. This influenced local culture and the ways of life. Africans who spoke Bantu languages adopted many Arab words. The two languages blended into one new language called Swahili.
Islam gained hold along the East African coast. Many African rulers adopted Islam and mosques, while many Africans continued to practice local traditions like animism. Hey Ellie, what's animism?
Animism is the belief that all living things have a soul. Africans were very close with nature.
Soul? Like a shoe or a monkey?
No, Tabitha. Just no.
Chalita!
Thank you for watching LEBET.
Timbuktu. Okay.
Timbuktu.
I got the moss. Your moss. Ugly.
You've translated from Arabia.
Arabia.
Ugh.
Africans who smoke.
Africans who smoke.
Right there. Go.
At trade markets, luxury goods. What?
What does that say?
In like this good song. How is this being too distracting?
Muslim city-states.
It's my turn!
Yeah, that's good. I can make.
She just skipped a whole sentence.